We're finally back from the Bay Area where the Royals took 2 out of 3 from the San Francisco Giants. Let's talk about the series next on Locked On Royals.
You are Locked On Royals, your daily Kansas City Royals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are tuned into another edition of Locked On Royals in the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, and you can find me on Twitter or X at JohnnyJ_15. That's at JOHNYJ_15. You also can download us on wherever you get your podcasts: Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, Odyssey, and YouTube. Just be sure to hit the follow button and subscribe. For you first-time listeners, well, this has probably been the most out of sorts we've ever been on this podcast because I was in San Francisco, and before that, I was in Fort Worth for a wedding, so we haven't really had the same regularity that we bring you every single time on the Locked On podcast. But for the typical weeks, we bring you episodes Monday through Friday, 30-minute episodes, and we bring you 60-second YouTube shorts after every single Royals game. And even though we don't bring you those 30-minute episodes on Saturday and Sunday, I'm going to do that this weekend because we didn't have any episodes on Monday or yesterday, bringing you this one a little bit late because I got back from San Francisco late, had a chance to see that entire series. So that was an absolute blast, and we'll be getting into that in the first segment. But that is what you can count on pretty much every single time from us here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, before we dive into anything, I want to let you know that today's title sponsor is Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off on your first year. It's been a while, so we'll see how this episode goes because I feel a little bit out of sorts. Don't have the routine down as well as I was before I took that 5 to 6 day vacation. Though there was still some work involved there, most of the time it was just enjoying the scenery, enjoying some baseball in a different city, a city that I've been to many times before, but hadn't had the opportunity to see the Royals play at Oracle Park or Pac Bell Park or AT&T Park, whatever you want to call it. Maybe you're a Royals fan that had the chance to see him when it was named. Some of those brands, I guess I should say, named that way for the ballpark. So definitely let us know in the YouTube comments below if you did have the opportunity to go out there and catch a game there. Because I had an absolute blast, even though one of those games was a loss. I wasn't going into the series expecting it to be a sweep. That is a good Giants team, a well-managed Giants team. And quite frankly, the Giants did have the pitching advantage in a few of those games. They certainly had it today with Logan Webb on the bump and the Royals having to go with the bullpen game. But even on Tuesday night, I'm getting mixed up too. I might say Friday, Saturday, and Sunday instead of Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday because that's what it almost felt like to me. But Hayden Birdsong is an incredibly talented young arm that the Giants have, and you could see the stuff. Like, I would say talent-wise, Hayden Birdsong is more talented, maybe more freakish than Michael Lorenzen, but Lorenzen's more polished. He's maybe the more seasoned guy that can grind you through the innings better than Birdsong can. But on that night and at that game, it was very clear that Birdsong had the Royals guessing, and the Giants did a really good job at fighting off a lot of pitches that Michael Lorenzen was throwing. As I've said many times before, a bad outing for Michael Lorenzen doesn't concern me because he's also got the upside of giving you 7 shutout. He's usually grinding you through 5 to 7 innings every time he takes the ball, and he didn't have great defense behind him in the game. That was a bad error from Vinny Pasquantino in Game 2. I believe that cost Michael Lorenzen 5 innings of, what would that have been, 2-run ball? Like, there were a couple of mistakes he made, but 5 innings at 2-run ball against the Giants on the road is something you take every single time from your number 5 starter. And then on Monday night, you got maybe the best start of the season from Kris Bubic, who continues to dominate and put himself in Cy Young conversations. We thought it would be Cole Ragans. We thought it might be Seth Lugo or Michael Wacha. Turns out it's Kris Bubic through about the first 2 months of the season. And it's such a cool game for him, a cool series. I remember him talking about it in spring training and back in 2023. He's somebody that grew up less than 50 miles or played high school ball less than 50 miles from Oracle Park, I should say. He played college ball at Stanford, and he probably went to his fair share of Giants games growing up. And to dominate in the way that he has in his two previous starts in San Francisco, it's got to be an awesome feeling for him. And he was so good, so polished, and I thought got a no-hitter ripped from him. I don't know if he would have been able to keep it going with the pitch count. I think he was around 80 to 85 when that error was overturned to a hit when Michael Massey slipped on the outfield grass at second base. But nonetheless, such an impressive outing, and he didn't get a lot from his offense. He had to toss zeros for a chunk of time, and he was able to do that, as he's done so often this season. The bullpen, Daniel Lynch wasn't perfect. John Schreiber wasn't perfect. Carlos Estevez wasn't perfect. But as we've seen before, they just can get the big out when they need to. Back to Tuesday. Look, I got to tip my cap to a lot of the lower leverage guys. I mean, that was a close game from start to finish, and the Royals did not use any of their high leverage guys, knowing that it was going to be a bullpen game today. You go with Jonathan Bolin. You go with Angel Serpa. You go with Evan Sisk. And all of those guys did their job. They did enough there. And those were spots that were not really glorified when it was all said and done. We don't talk about those outings, especially over the course of 162. We're not talking about the 2 innings that Jonathan Bolin gave the Royals when they were down by 2 runs in San Francisco in May. But it was important for today. If you can recall in that Houston series, which I know you can, because I brought it up on the podcast after one of those games, the Royals did not have Lucas Erceg available for that game because he had to throw in game 1 and in game 2. And so you have to go to Carlos Estevez a little bit early because you couldn't put away the Astros in game 1. It was 7-0. It was a blowout. That game got close. You had to use high leverage guys. And because you used those high leverage guys, you were a bit thin in game 3 of that series. Today was the opposite. Now, I give all the credit in the world to the offense. They did the heavy lifting today, something they have not done many times in 2025. But Salvador Perez, after the brutal slump that he's been in, and we'll talk about him in maybe tomorrow's episode, but he has a 3-hit game. Michael Massey has a 3-hit game. Garcia has a multi-hit game. He was the best player for the Royals in the series. Bobby Witt Jr. has a 2-hit game, right? Drew Waters and Kyle Isbell doing their job at the bottom of the order. So the offense made it easier on the bullpen, but who they could use today was also a nod to what they were able to do last night. They didn't have to use, Daniel Lynch for an extended period of time, which is why they could throw him today for an inning and 2/3. Jonathan Bolin threw more than a few outs, but he also only had about 15 or 16 pitches. You could go to Serpa because Serpa only needed to get 1 out. You didn't have to use Erceg last night, though it would have been good to see Erceg out there because it probably meant the game was tied or they were up by 1. And he was warming up about 20 feet from me in Levi's Landing when Bobby Witt Jr. had the RBI infield single in the 8th inning. Then he got thrown out at second base. But what they were able to do and keep the game close and not have to use Schreiber, Estevez, and Erceg, like keeping that game close and allowing the offense to maybe break it open at some point, that was crucial for today's game. Now, the way they jumped on Logan Webb, I didn't envision happening. I thought that with Daniel Lynch on the bump, they could do a good job of maybe keeping the Giants under 3 or 4 runs, but Logan Webb had been so dominant at home this year, I wasn't overly confident this was going to be the game that the Royals offense broke out a little bit. But you can see what this team can do when the 3 and 4 hole hitters are hitting. Vinny Pasquantino had the big home run on Monday night, silenced the crowd. Salvador Perez, the big home run today, silenced the crowd. when you get that production, and I'm not asking for 3-hit games every time out, but if you can have that one big at bat each and every game, it transforms the lineup. We talk so much about this offense, and then we'll move on to the second segment, which is going to be dipping our toe into the Omaha Storm Chasers roster here, and now taking a look at them that Jac Caglianone has joined them. But this offense is not producing at a high rate. We all know that. We know that this offense is struggling mightily, and one game is not going to change your opinion about them. But what if I would have told you that on May 21st, Michael Garcia would be hitting 310? What is it? 310, 315? Yeah, 315. He's OPSing at 860. And he's played in the majority of the games. So I'd give you that number. I'd say Bobby Witt Jr. is hitting 305. He's OPSing at 876. If I told you Mark Canha, when they picked him up a few days before the start of the regular season, would be hitting 279 with a 659 OPS, you'd be saying that's about what Mark Canha is supposed to do. If I would have told you Drew Waters and a chunk of games would be hitting 281 with a 726 OPS, and then, oh, by the way, Kyle Isbell hitting 286 in the 9-hole with a 735 OPS, you'd be saying this is one of the better offenses in the American League. But you look at Vinny Pasquantino's 661 OPS and Salvador Perez's 604. I mean, you saw today, when you have those guys going and they combined for 4 hits and 3 RBI, like, that is something that can drive this offense. They can be the run producers. If Jonathan India can get 100% healthy and you get this version of Garcia and Bobby Witt Jr. does Bobby Witt Jr. things, I feel like I'm a broken record here, but it's so obvious. Like, a lot of these numbers are not as bad as they seem for the individual. For the team as a whole, it's bad. We can all acknowledge that. But at times you go, man, is it really that bad? Yeah, it is that bad. But when you got Kyle Isbell and Garcia and Waters producing in the way they are, man, you just need a little bit of something from Perez and Pasquantino, better than what they're giving you right now. Maybe this was the game to break out Salvador Perez a little bit, to see a ball go to the opposite field in a place that doesn't get a lot of right-handed home runs over that brick wall in the Levi's Landing. Like, maybe that's the ball that gets him going. Or the swing where he just, roped one into right center, a 2-strike swing. Then he had another hard single later on in the game. You just need games like that, whether you're a rookie or an experienced veteran. Maybe that's one to get him going. Maybe it was the flash in the pan. But we all know that 3 and 4 hole, it's got to drive this offense, because the other guys, they're doing their job right now. Okay, we're going to take our first break of the show. When we come back, I didn't get the chance to talk about this because right as I got to San Francisco, the Royals decided to announce that Jac Caglianone was getting promoted to AAA Omaha. So now is the time for us to break our silence and talk about what we think of it and how long he's going to be in Omaha. We'll dive into that next on Locked On Royals. You are tuned into Locked On Royals and the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, and you can find me on Twitter or X at JohnnyJ_15. Our first and only sponsor we're going to let you know about today is Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off on your first year. That's monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB for half off on your first year. This was just that type of breaking news that when you're on vacation or you're out doing something, you dread to see, but at the same time, you're ecstatic about it. I know a lot of beat reporters feel that way, that, being one myself in college, like, you had to be prepared that on a Friday night, there might be some big time breaking news that happens, like a Friday news dump that you got to work on. and your weekend might have to come a little bit later. And for Jac Caglianone, this was a different story. It was a Sunday news dump when it happened, but it was something to be expected. And we did an episode about 2 weeks ago where I expressed my opinion of it was time for Jac Caglianone to get to AAA. There were some people that disagreed in the comments. There were some people that did agree with me. I see both sides to it. If you are on the patient side, you are saying that there is no need to rush this kid. We can see the talent, we can see the ceiling, but it's foolish to have a guy who was playing college baseball last year get rushed to the big leagues like this because he's tearing up AA and AAA pitching. We all know how different it is in the bigs. And for those out there that were saying he's going to get exposed, he's not ready, you may be right. I always try to circle back to baseball's unpredictable, and you can never really know how fast somebody's going to mature at the big league level. Some guys come up and they never look back. They are just great from game one until the day they retire. Some guys have slower starts. Some guys are late bloomers. Some guys burst onto the scene, and that's all they do. I'm not sure where Jac Caglianone falls. My gut reaction would tell me that he's not going to hit as well as he is right now because he's also started off his AAA campaign with a multi-hit game tonight. I believe the game is still going on as I'm recording, but he had a 114-mile-an-hour single, so same type of Jac Caglianone stuff we were seeing in AA, but it's going to take more than 2 games to get him to Kansas City. We all know that. I also see the side of the aggressive thinkers of, I've seen enough. I wouldn't have even sent him to AAA. I've seen that thought process as well, that he doesn't even need to concern himself with AAA pitching. He did so well in AA that you should just fast track him to the bigs. There have been people that are notable in baseball that believe that way. So you have these two opposite sides. And I would say that I am somewhere in the middle. I definitely lean toward getting him to the big leagues sooner rather than later. Because I also feel that baseball, as you've probably heard me say before, has just changed from the old days. If you draft a college hitter, you can fast track those guys. It may not be flawless. It may not be the perfect choice. But those guys don't need 2 or 3 years to develop anymore. And the Royals made it very clear in spring training that they were not going to rush him. And the fact that he is in AAA on May 21st, or at least it was earlier than that, it was like May 18th when he got called up. So you are talking about less than 2 months, about a month and a half of AA ball. And he was so good, he just forced their hand. Like, we can't keep him down here. There's nothing more he can learn. And that's where the Royals are being smart about it. It's not J.J. Piccolo making all the answers here or giving all the answers and saying, this is what we're going with, and I don't want to hear any and, ifs, or buts. This kid's going to AAA. They clearly have had conversations that led to this promotion, that there is not much more he can learn in AA, and the next step of this is challenging him at AAA. And if he shows in the first couple weeks in AAA that it is no match for him, he's going to be in Kansas City in the first half. And it's not going to be showcasing all of this power. We know it's there. That is not a part of his game. He needs to showcase to the rest of baseball, to the Royals. It's going to be about, can he handle right field? It's where he started tonight. Game 1, he started at first base. Then he also started in right field tonight. We'll see how they, split that with him over the next few weeks. But I want to see if he can still go to the opposite field, if he can cut down on the swing and miss, if he can be patient, wait for his pitch, and maybe just not have as many. And I know it wasn't an issue for him in AA, but at AAA and in the big leagues, like when you get that hittable pitch, it's getting crushed. You're not having a bunch of swing overs and swing unders on pitches that are strikes. That is going to be a big difference for him in facing more challenging hitters. Because when you see strikes in the big leagues, they're on the black. They're on the corner. They're good pitches. But if he can find a way to make contact with those, hard contact, that's what I want to see in this stint in AAA. More so than the 440-foot bombs. I know he can do that. I don't care if it's high A or if it's double A, triple A, or the big leagues. I know that's in his arsenal. So what probably needs to be shown is the complete mature approach. I don't want to say an overhauling approach because I believe he already has a pretty good approach. And what should also be known is that he's going to have some swing and miss in his game. Like, that's not going to go away completely. He's not going to come up to Kansas City and with a bunch of hard work and practicing and a bunch of BP rounds, he's going to strike out like 5% of the time. No, that's not a part of his game. He is going to be that stereotypical hitter, that power hitter, where a lot of home runs, a lot of hard hit balls, a lot of walks, a lot of strikeouts. You're hoping the strikeout rate is not upper 30s, low 40s, but it's going to be likely in that 25 to 30 range. Maybe early on in the big leagues, it's a bit higher than that because you're making that adjustment. But this showed to me the Royals are incredibly serious about getting him to Kansas City before the All-Star break. I don't see him being in AAA for 2 months here. The time to keep him one spot and really get the most out of him, like truly develop him, it would have been in AA. It would have been this stint to start the season. You keep him in AA in the first half, and then you give him a few weeks in AAA. Now he's good to go. The fact they felt that his month and a half in AA was good enough to earn a promotion, you know how serious they are about getting him to Kansas City. We know where this offense is at, and he should not be looked at as the savior. You need to see this offense get a little bit more consistent. He needs to continue to do what he's been doing. Then you can have that roster move. Then you can have that conversation. And when that happens, which I believe it's going to be in the first half, you are putting some pressure and some expectation on it. But here's where I'm at, because I know there's been people too that have said this. It's too much to put on a 21, 22-year-old kid. If you feel that this kid is different, then you can't worry about that. You can't be fearful of failure. Bobby Witt Jr. got drafted at 18 years old, or was about to turn 19. And we put all the pressure in the world on him to succeed. You got to be the guy that changes this franchise. And he welcomed it. And he had the weird COVID year as well. And he made the opening day roster at a very young age. And he struggled early on. And now look at the player he's become. You can't look at Jac Caglianone and say, well, I'm nervous he's going to fail and they're going to mentally damage him for good. If they're moving him up this quickly, there is not that level of concern, that high level of concern of, well, he is going to be mental about this. If he fails at any point, you're not going to ever be able to recover with him. I don't view it that way. He is a very confident player and somebody that knows he's way ahead of schedule. And there will be some growing pains. But to get to AAA this early on, I believe the Royals are very serious. He is a contributor for this team in the first half of the season. Let's take our final break of the show. When we come back, I want to talk about somebody who has been such a pleasant surprise. And today, he was the most impressive bullpen arm for the Royals and was a big reason as to why they were able to hang on late. We'll dive into that next on Locked On Royals. You are tuned into Locked On Royals and the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, and you can find me on Twitter or X at JohnnyJ_15. And a reminder that tomorrow we will be bringing you an episode, likely earlier on in the morning. Just want to get back into the swing of things. You can probably already tell in this episode that I've been off my game a little bit. Long flight. In fact, I would say a long travel day. Got up around 4 a.m., though it was the West Coast time, so it would have been 6 a.m. here. Though my body had adjusted. My mind had adjusted to the time and been traveling all day. Went through Vegas and then got to Kansas City. So, yeah, it's been a long day here. But I was able to catch the game, at least on my phone there, and was lots of fun. Lots of fun for a little short vacation there and got the chance to go to those games with my brother who lives out there. And to see 2 Royals wins. So can't ask for much more than that other than a sweep. But as I said, I went on a little bit of a tangent there. We'll be making up Monday and Tuesday's lack of an episode with episodes on Saturday and Sunday. So tomorrow, earlier morning episode, then Wednesday, or excuse me, I'm all mixed up my days now. Tomorrow's Thursday. So Thursday, earlier morning episode, Friday, same thing because of a mailbag Friday, and Saturday and Sunday we'll be breaking down what happens in that Twin Series, which is on deck. We'll talk about that in one of the final segments tomorrow. As for our final segment today, I got to tip my cap to what Taylor Clarke has done in his reunion with Kansas City. When that move was made in December, I didn't believe that he was going to break camp with the team. I didn't believe he would leave with anybody in the organization. I didn't believe he'd go to Omaha. I thought that it was just going to be an outright, not even DFA because he wasn't on the 26-man roster or the 40-man roster. He just cut ties with him. He didn't make the team. You move on, and I didn't expect to see Taylor Clarke in the big leagues again. And I feel that last year for Milwaukee, they viewed the same thing. And Milwaukee has burned Kansas City before by getting Yoel Payams to turn into something special. They got something special out of Jeremy Jeffress, who was a Brewer, then a Royal, then went to the Rangers and then the Brewers again, but found himself again. Like, they had done that. They've done that effectively. And with Taylor Clarke, I'm not saying that what he's done so far is going to be the same thing he's doing, in August and September. But he's been damn impressive. And he's faced 25 batters so far this season since being recalled from Omaha, and he's retired 22 of them. He has not walked anybody. He has struck out a few guys, but he's not out there to strike out 10 guys per nine, run it up there at 99, 100. He's in there to throw strikes, limit hard contact, and pitch when the game is maybe out of control like it was today, 8-2, or he's in there when it's 5-0, just eat a couple of innings. And that's going to be incredibly valuable because the more he does that and the more success he gets, the better chance he has of becoming last year's Sam Long. Sam Long had the same type of deal early on. Like, he's out there, the game is somewhat close, but it's not your highest leverage guy. And then the more times he got 3 outs in the inning, he worked 2 innings, perfect innings. He got 2 big outs in the game late. He was, thrust into a high leverage spot and he made the most of it. You saw him pretty consistently in those high leverage spots. Daniel Lynch, same thing. Daniel Lynch was not throwing high leverage innings when he was being tried out as a reliever late in the season last year. Then when he showed all that success, you saw more of those 7th inning opportunities, those 8th inning opportunities. And for Taylor Clarke, he does have experience in those innings. In fact, in 2022, he was that guy for the Royals to bridge the gap a little bit, to get it to Scott Barlow. And it's not his role on this team, but I'm starting to get to that point where he can't go back down to Omaha. Not right now. And some of the guys you have in the bullpen, you're almost, harboring too many arms here. Like, there's too many guys that you want to keep in Kansas City, but somebody is going to be the odd man out. And Steven Cruz has looked good. Jonathan Bowen has looked good, and you can look at that upside. Evan Sisk, he needs to be more of a strike thrower, but you can really see how tough he is on lefties, right? You got your regulars, and Carlos Estevez, and Lucas Erceg, and Daniel Lynch, and John Schreiber. Even Angel Serpa. Like, he's got 97, 98 from the left side. And when he's on, he's very effective. And he's somebody that can be a valuable piece of the bullpen. But now that Chris Stratton's gone, and you have Taylor Clarke there, and you have Jonathan Bowen there, who we're not really talking about much anymore? It's Hunter Harvey. Like, Hunter Harvey going on the injured list was a terrible, terrible blow for the Royals bullpen. The way he was nails in the 7th inning, just coming in there, breathing fire, 96-97, always putting it where he wanted to. Like, it was looking like it was going to be a big year for Hunter Harvey. And then, due to his injury concerns in the past, it just popped up again. And for a while, it was Well, who can bridge the gap for when Hunter Harvey comes back? And you had Steven Cruz, but Steven Cruz was not going to throw Hunter Harvey's innings until he did, until he got the 7th inning, until he got the 8th inning. And he's not perfect, but he's got a sub-2 ERA and he throws 100. Jonathan Bolin is not there yet, but you watched Jonathan Bolin pitch last night. You saw him pitch in the series against, maybe it was the Orioles or something like that. There was some outing he had where the game was out of control, and it was at Kauffman Stadium, and he just pitched really well. Like, it was just effective, and he had good stuff. And then last night and today, I thought the stuff was really good. And Jonathan Bowen's somebody you want to keep around, but you also don't know if there's room for him. And then there's Taylor Clarke. And Taylor Clarke's got big league experience, and his stuff is really playing up right now. And his velocity's playing up, and that slider looks good. And he means business when he's out there. And Taylor Clarke might be this team's Sam Long. Even though Sam Long was a lefty and he was more of a specialist, like, it's not going to surprise me if Taylor Clarke starts getting some 7th inning opportunities, some 8th inning opportunities, when John Schreiber's not available, Daniel Lynch is not available. And right now, I'd have some faith he could pitch well. This is not the Taylor Clarke of old. This is a new revamped version of Taylor Clarke, and being a minor league deal guy, it only gives you that much more confidence that the Royals pitching department has an eye for talent, even if it was failed talent from a previous regime. You know, I'm not talking about the 25, 26-year-old failed starters you found as a reliever. Taylor Clarke wasn't showing signs that he was going to get back to the big leagues after missing all of last year in the bigs in 2024, just kind of hanging around in the minor leagues. And then you take a chance on him again, clearly see something in him, and now he's a key piece of that bullpen, and I don't believe he's going anywhere anytime soon. Well, that's going to do it for another edition of Locked On Royals and the Locked On Podcast Network. I've been your host, Jack Johnson. Before we say goodbye, I want to let you know about MLB Game Night. And so thank you for making Locked On Royals your first listen today. But for that second listen, you should head over to Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale and find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Tomorrow, we're going to preview that Twin series and give a little bit more of a breakdown of some guys that could be helping the big league team right now. But until then, you take it easy, Kansas City.